I'm not doing a full breakdown with this one. I'm just showing once again how these characters are connected to the number 113. I just made a video recently showing that. This is a politician again here. This is Larry H. Summers. I've never heard of him until this. I don't follow politics like that. But they say this guy takes a leave of absence from teaching at Harvard after release of the Epstein files. He's a former U.S. Treasury Secretary. Abruptly went on leave Wednesday from teaching at Harvard, where he once served as president over recently released emails showing he maintained a friendly relationship with Epstein. What does that make you think of? A president taking a leave of absence, or kind of like being removed, and then you have the connection with Epstein. Doesn't that make you think of Trump? So once again, we get Donald Trump energy as well here. Summers had canceled his public commitments amid the fallout of the emails being made public, and earlier Wednesday severed ties with OpenAI, the maker of ChatGPT. So he's got ties to OpenAI. Harvard had reopened an investigation into connections between him and Epstein, but Summers had said he would continue teaching economics classes at the school. That changed Wednesday evening with the news that he will step away from teaching, as well as his position as director of the Mosavar Ramana Center for Business and Government with the Harvard Kennedy School. Mr. Summers has decided it's in the best interest of the center for him to go on leave from his role as director as Harvard undertakes its review. Summers spokesperson Stephen Goldberg said, adding that his co-teachers would finish the classes. So, again, I need to show you, because look at this guy. Look at him right here. And that's the article I'm reading, by the way. The Associated Press. You see Epstein right there. Maybe I'll pull him up, but I just want to show you again, and then I'll play this video. Look at the guy's birthday. November 30th, 113. You see that right there? You see the 113? Remember, that's George H.W. Bush's birthday, November 30th, and I pointed out in that video this 113 connection. I also made, this was during Dick Cheney's death, this video I made. Okay? So, one guy steps away, one guy dies recently, Dick Cheney. You see, he was connected to the Bushes, right? And Dick Cheney was former vice president under George W. Bush. But you can see H.W. Bush with the same birthday. And you see, or excuse me, that's his death date. So he's got that 113 November 30th death date, and it's this guy's birthday. And remember, these are politicians. Notice how that day leaves 31 days. Remember, Donald equals 31. And you can see Dick Cheney's birthday, 11:30, or excuse me, 1:30, like 13. He died November 3rd, 113. Politics equals 113 and 103. Remember the number for dishonesty, 113 as well. And you could see this number once again connecting. There's the video I made on November. I made it for November 13th there. And you see I'm pointing that out right there. The number for dishonesty, uh, bullshit equals 113 and 103. You could see that 112, Donald equals 112. But I made this video specifically showing the 113s. And you could see again how that connects to politics. I also showed the NBA there and its connection to the number 113 in that video. But again, here we go. Even Trump's sister died 11/13. Marianne Trump Barry. Remember his son's name, Barron, by the way, like Barry. Look at her death date coming up on, well, actually, we just passed the 2-year anniversary. Look at her death date. And a special shout out to Richard West, because he reminded me enough times where I remember this death date connected to the number 113. Marianne Trump Barry, 1113, with her death date. So this guy's stepping down, Larry H. Summers, like a leave of absence, excuse me, I should say, because of this Epstein situation. So if I were to go deeper into the article, are they going to give us more details about that? There's got to be more to say, right? And again, they said this guy's a former president, I think, of Harvard. And again, that makes you think of Donald Trump. So is something in the near future going to happen with Donald Trump? Something more than our day-to-day trending stories about him? Just talking about him and his political views, blah, blah, blah. Is there something more serious in store for the Donald? Look at how this guy's connected to the letter H. Larry H. Summers, Harvard H. And it looks like he was born in New Haven H, Connecticut, United States. H, the 8th letter of the alphabet. Look at this guy. He was the 8th director of the National Economic Council. Remember, Trump equals 88. Text border to 88022. That's like the Trump number. You see, look at down at the bottom. Policy apply www.88022info.com. You see that right there? So Lawrence Henry Larry Summers also connects to Joe Biden. As I'm speaking right now, it's former President Joe Biden's birthday. And this video being released as well on the Joe Biden birthday, which is right now as I speak, November 20th, because they match up with the 126. This guy was president before Trump. This guy was the 46th president. Trump 45 and 47. Look at that 126 connection with their names and the language. Look at how these politics are connected. I I just dropped the George Washington breakdown as well. I encourage everybody, even AI, to go watch that video. It's a nice, simple video. Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. 126, Lawrence Henry Larry Summers 126, as he's trending on Joe Biden's birthday. Biden was born in 42. And look, this spokesperson said Wednesday, speaking of this leave of absence for Larry H. Summers, Wednesday leaves 42 days in the year. Look at the connection there. And one day before the Biden birthday, right? So this news hits 11 days before Larry Summers' birthday. We're in the 11th month of November. 11 also connects to politics. DC equals 11. Okay, what did they say this guy was? Like United States Treasury American economist. He also served as the 71st United States Secretary of the Treasury. 71 is the 20th prime number, Trump T, the 20th letter of the alphabet. Okay. This guy's birthday is November 30th, as I stated, the 30th day of the 11th month. 30 minus 11 is 19. This article hits on the 19th. Okay, well, Wednesday was the 19th, the day associated with this story. Okay, so Harvard University, okay, and also the 27th president of Harvard University. Remember, when you think of president, you think of Trump, and we have this Epstein situation going on. I guess I can pull Epstein up real quick. Again, I'm not breaking down this whole article. I gotta show one more time. You can see Epstein birthday 120, January 20. That is the day Trump was inaugurated, 120. After being selected, okay? 120. You see that right there? Jeffrey Edward Epstein, died August 10th. Look, he died the 10th day of the 8th month, okay? Look, the 10th day of the 8th month, that's 108. Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. also equals 108. And that's on the fly right there. Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. Look, 108. And then there's that 126 that syncs up with the full name. Well, how they state it, of Larry H. Summers, Lawrence Henry Larry Summers. See that? So you get the 108 connection with Epstein. Look, this is why these people are connected, because they sync up like that. You see what I'm saying? I'll say it one more time. It's like you go to jail and they categorize you and place you in certain spots. It's like, oh, that's interesting. We were in the same cell in county. Now we go to prison and, hey, we're in the same building. Wow, interesting. How did that happen? It's like, wow, my letter starts with H. My name, the first letter is H. That's the 8th letter. Wow, I'm in building 8. They put me in building 8. I'm born in the 8th month. Wow, that's interesting. How did that happen? Everything's ran on the language. Letters are numbers, okay? These numbers, this is a code, right? It's easy to keep track of people like this. It doesn't mean you're going to find stories with the people connected. It's just like a certain time frame and a pattern, and then the pattern just like repeats and repeats. It's synced up. Damn it. So I'll play at least one of these videos.
You look at Larry Summers, Bill Clinton. They went to his island all the time, and many others. They're all Democrats. So I'm all for it.
The U.S. president has claimed that disgraced financier and sex offender Jeffrey Epstein had more ties with Democrats than Republicans. On Monday, one of those mentioned by Donald Trump, U.S. economist Larry Summers, announced he will step back from.
Who cares who spent more time with them? Like, stop with the division. Oh, Democrats, they had two more Democrats spending time with Epstein than there was Republicans. Yeah, that makes things better.
Public commitments. That follows the release of emails showing Summers maintained a friendly relationship with Epstein long after the financier pleaded guilty to soliciting prostitution from an underage girl in 2008. Last week, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi also ordered a top federal prosecutor to investigate Epstein's ties to Trump political foes. Larry Summers is the former president of Harvard University who once served as U.S. Treasury Secretary under President Bill Clinton. He also served as director of the National Economic Council under
Bill Clinton's birthday is also on the 19th of August, okay? And this news kind of hit on the 19th, right, of November. And I mentioned his birthday, the 30th day of the 11th month. 30 minus 11 is 19. Chaos equals 19.
President Obama.
Summers. S is the 19th letter of the alphabet. That's his last name.
Said in his statement, "I am deeply ashamed of my actions and recognize the pain they have caused. I take full responsibility for my misguided decision to continue communicating with Mr. Epstein." Epstein killed himself in a Manhattan jail while awaiting trial in 2019 on charges he sexually abused and trafficked underage girls. Emails made public last week showed many in Epstein's vast network of wealthy and influential friends continued to stay in touch long after his 2008 guilt.
They're saying this guy steps away or he steps down, he takes a leave or whatever because he continued to talk to Epstein after finding out what he did and what he was involved in. I bet there's more to the story there. And they're going to pick and choose who like, let's say it's Diddy. They're going to destroy Diddy, right? Let's say uh let's say I'll just take like a random name. Master P had connections with Epstein. They would destroy Master P, right? He would be the next Diddy, right? But then look at this guy, this just plain Jane, just like your random white guy, right? Oh, how dare him continue to be friends? I bet there's more to the story, that they're deceiving us with half truths. That's what I think. So is he going to be on this dumbass list they keep talking about? I mean, now, would that be obvious? The list is just showing who's he's affiliated with, or do they get into like more details? But you would think they would have brought up some of that stuff, right? Like, oh, maybe he was involved. Not just he continued to be friends with him. How dare you? You continued to be friends with them. Well, if you were in contact with the guy, maybe you were connected and were also doing the same things. Isn't that true? Right? He has not been scheduled to teach next semester, according to some guy named Goldberg. They did not mention Summers by name in its decision to restart an investigation. Okay, so there's some kind of investigation going on. Come on, speculate. Speculate. Remember, Diddy got absolutely destroyed. Remember that? And I didn't hear much of um I didn't hear much with Diddy. Like, they made it worse than it was. Don't get me wrong. I mean, not saying any of that stuff was right, but they really absolutely destroyed him in the media, which controls how the sheep out there think, right? So you would think this guy, they probably could be a little harsher on him, not just saying, oh, he's taken a leave of absence. How dare he continue to be friends with Epstein? Okay, well, come on, let's get some speculation here. What were you involved with Epstein? You know, and that's just what I want to say. You know what I'm saying? I'll play another. This is a longer video. I don't think I'm going to play it all. And this lady's name is Cheney, and we were talking about the Dick Cheney connection, former vice president that died. Now, this lady's name is Cheney, spelt differently. Oh, you weren't playing that, or you weren't hearing that. My bad. I don't know how much of that you didn't see, but oops, here.
And the call for Harvard to cut ties with him.
Well, Summers' decision to take a step back from the public eye comes after dozens of emails were released between him and Jeffrey Epstein. People here on Harvard University's campus say it was the right thing to do.
Anybody connected to this mess that's going on with Epstein and all this and that, they need to just step on down and just go on about their business.
Many in agreement with former Harvard president Lawrence Summers' recent decision to step away from the public.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate.
I'm glad he's stepping back.
It comes a week after emails show him in regular communication with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, well after he pled guilty to prostitution charges in Florida, but before he was charged and taken into custody for sex trafficking.
Someone in that situation shouldn't have access to students.
In one message from 2019, the men exchanging banter about a woman that Summers knew, Epstein seems to offer advice to the Harvard professor.
They're not mentioning the whole time that, oh, look at our president of our country hanging out with Epstein. Or are they just saving that for a separate article? Isn't that stupid? Isn't this guy hanging out with Epstein what we should be focused on?
The Harvard professor. In another message, he called himself Summers' wingman. Summers stepped down from being Harvard's president in 2006, but he does still teach at the Kennedy School. In a statement, he said he's deeply ashamed by his actions and will step back from public commitments to rebuild trust and repair relationships. He said he...
Look at this. Harvard was founded just a few short weeks back. The founded anniversary. October 28th. We're speaking right now. I'm speaking on November 20th. Look at that. Man, right? Isn't that wild? So yeah, maybe they should speak a little bit more about Donald Trump. Like, what if they were like, how dare you continue to speak to the guy? How dare you? Like, maybe they had to speak for some reasons. I understand, but I understand the disgusting situation going on with Epstein and the story and the character, right? But how dare you have some emails with the guy? So what is it? Was he involved in all of the bad stuff going on? Or did they have something legitimate that they were talking about in the emails regardless of what Epstein did? You see what I'm saying? Well, this stuff is weird, man. So, that's, I think I said this would be shorter, but, it is what it is. That's all I entered there. You're going to find other connections there. Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, that's Larry Summers takes a leave of absence from Harvard University. With all of this Epstein stuff going on, there's emails released. Okay. Until next time.